Hello, welcome to the Save Our Children podcast. We're your hosts, Becky and Bridget. On today's episode, we are talking to three veterans who have bravely served our country. Although they served in different branches, music is what brings them together today. Most recently, you may have heard a phrase, "Let's go Brandon." It's kind of a well-known thing these days. Well, our guests today are three amazing rappers who created a song celebrating that phrase and calling out the situation we find ourselves in. Topher, the Marine rapper, and D-Cure are veteran conservative musicians who have come together through the power of music and patriotism to create the group Space Force. Their song, "Let's Go Brandon," has shown up in numerous Billboard charts. Personally, my youngest son loves the song Wellerman and was rocking out to the Wellerman rap. So he was thrilled to find out I was interviewing these guys today. Although music is what these guys are doing now, we want to chat about their history, their service, the entertainment industry, and what brought them to this point. Thank you guys so much for coming on our show. Can we take just some time for you guys to introduce yourselves, tell us about your military career, what you did, how you got into music, and how you ended up in this time and place?
You go ahead, DK.
Anyway.
Hey, we'll go D, then Tim. I'll end it unless Timmer want to end it.
Okay. That works. So my name is D-Cure. I did 11 years in the Air Force. I was in security forces, which was basically like being a military police officer. And then once I got out, I met up with these guys and the rest is history. But we kind of came together because we really understood each other and we believed in the military and kind of the whole culture behind conservative lifestyle. And we really just understood each other a lot. And so that's kind of what brought us together. But so I was actually born and raised in Arizona, did my 11 years in the Air Force, and now we're doing the music full time. So
awesome.
Yo, what's up, everybody? My name is the Marine Rapper, aka TMR. I spent 10 years in the United States Marine Corps as a combat correspondent, covering stories on infantry battalions in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I've always been telling stories about the military. So it was just like a organic fit for myself, the Marine Rapper, to meet up with Topher and D-Cure and continue telling stories about our communities, but we're doing it through music. And we're able to entertain young to old, especially in the conservative and military community. So I'm just honored to be here amongst you ladies, as well as my fellow veterans.
Thank you.
And after that, I'm Topher, and I did 6 years active duty Air Force as a cryptologic language analyst with a specialty in Hebrew. I worked with NSA, where I helped with overseas missions, special secret squirrel stuff. I can't talk about it. If I do, I gotta kill you type of thing. But it was really cool, great experience coming from Mississippi. And getting away from my environment and being put into that type of environment. And because of that, I was able to meet the two gents, D-Cure and Timmer. And now we make great music together. I've been making music since I was 10, at least rapping since I was 10. So I've been doing it for 20 years now. Just now kind of getting to the success that I always dreamed of. And that's just to let people know, if you're listening, it does not happen overnight. It takes a lot of time and preparation, but most important, it's really just God's timing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys all for your service. First and foremost, we absolutely appreciate it. And to all of the active service men and women, veterans and their families, thank you for your time and your service. We know, and the country should know, how important you are to all of this. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Who would have thought the world going to hell would have been the thing to elevate you guys the most? Because again, I mean, this is really, really fun. It's fun music, and it's fun to listen to when you are awake, not woke, when you are awake to knowing what you're really speaking about and doing all of that. It's like, oh, did they just say that? Yes, they did.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I always tell people I never imagined this. I never imagined being in a position where I'm not only making great music and have success, but I'm also impacting culture and helping to shift culture in the direction it needs to get back to, right? As family values, education, and everything else is going on, back toward God. Never expected any of that. I just wanted to hit the stage and say some rhymes, go home, and have a good time. That's what I imagine. But as they say, his ways are always higher than our ways, and his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. So here I am, changing the world one song at a time with as veterans. And taking everything I learned when I was in the military and applying that to this, prioritizing the mission versus prioritizing your race or your religion, prioritizing, just things that are more important that people use to divide us today. To me, that's why I'm not impacted as much. And that's why I'm not woke, but awake, because I'm not going to put something that I didn't choose over something I chose. That's how I always like to say. I didn't choose to be Black, but I chose to be a husband. I chose to be a Christian. I chose to be a veteran. I chose to do this. So I'm going to prioritize those decisions over something frivolous, right? Skin color.
Well, and I love that too, because society often pushes agendas and they try to cause division and want to put labels. And you guys have gotten so many labels slapped on you, from the cancel culture and censorship, just even for being conservative artists. And then you see when they try to tie in the race part of it, there's that division where some people can't look past that just yet. And it's like, really, we're in 2021, going into 2022, we're still dealing with this. And you guys have shown what it is to be an influential person in the world and really change what true music should look like. And you guys are sharing your life experiences with the world while taking shots at your leaders, are actually all of our leaders. And now seeing it from when we grew up to now, like being awakened, you're like, oh shit. And it really does shift, because I know, like, you guys can even agree to this, is whether you vote Democratic or Republican, it doesn't matter, because they're all from the same puppet. And there's always that division that they're trying to break the people apart. And so I love what you guys are doing, not only with the memes, but even like your new characters you guys have. Like, you guys have really shifted the culture and social media in general. So going off of that, if you guys all want to answer it, or one of you want to answer it, however you guys want to do it, but if we can go into how, based on your experience, how influential is political advertising on social media, as I know you guys have had a major success through TikTok using that and really capitalized off of it?
I think Topher should answer that one.
Yeah, I kind of rose to stardom from my TikTok. It was dark territory at first. It felt like no one was doing it, to be honest. No one was doing it until I was doing it. A couple other people, we was really ones to get it started. And now it's all the time, right? A lot of people didn't know that TikTok can be politicized or be used as a political weapon, whether it's right or left or liberal, whatever. So it's been an interesting thing. And my goal from the beginning was, how can I put out information that most people typically won't hear? And how do I help push information that could be helpful? Especially when they know that they're going to get something biased from some other source. And that's kind of why I started the TikToks that I did. It's like, okay, let's really break down the article, not just from the headlines. Let's really dive into what they're saying. And if you don't know about this, we'll look this up as well. And so I became known as the guy that was just the finger, just reading the articles as it was highlighted. And it was interesting to see. I had people as old as 60 say, hey, you're the guy from TikTok. And I had people as young as 10 say, hey, man, you're the guy from TikTok. It's like, I didn't know that you would be interested in politics because of that, right? I didn't know it could be entertaining to a certain point. And then we started doing trends with it, with the music, just like anybody else would do with dances and everything. And we probably created not only created a desire, a new interest in politics. And the reason why I think we did is because I was trying to remind everybody that everything's downstream from culture anyway. Politics is downstream from culture. So the reason why you do the dances you do, or the reason why you live in the house you live in, the reason why you have the rights that you have is because of what culture dictates is right, but also who we put in office. And that's why I was trying to remind everybody, because when I was a kid, I was like, why are we poor? You know, why do we live here? Like the bigger picture versus just trying to blame my neighbor or trying to blame my parents. Is there something else going on behind the scenes, a bigger power that's influencing us? And that's when I realized, it's like, man, there's some policies out here that's just trash. It's like, why, when there's a couple, you won't give them food stamps even though they need it, but if she's single, you give them food stamps? It's like, the need is to feed the kids. So why are you being biased towards one versus the other? Like stuff like that. You know, I was like, this just doesn't make sense. And why is this a policy? So it's just been a process. And now we taking it and put it into music, which I think, you know, is a universal language. So that's why we have people all the way in Switzerland, from Australia. It's like, hey, we love the Patriot. We love this. We love that. So it's been a melting pot of just goodness. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, when we started out, it was more about just being creative and artistic. And as you know, as we grew together as a group, we figured out that there was a calling for a different kind of music. And so we just kind of shifted, you know, and kind of went where the people felt they needed us to be. And so we're always grateful, you know, to be those people and to be a voice for people that can't really speak. And, you know, people like we spoke on in shots, how we spoke on the military, you know, getting forced to get the vaccine. And it's been awesome for us to be able to have that voice.
100%. And you also taught people, you guys are teaching people how to think again, as well as they're learning with all of your content you're putting out, and the visuals. You guys have mastered that, and the marketing aspect as well. Nobody honestly is doing what you guys are doing across the board and on all charts. I know you guys have many trending songs, but I know that's one thing that you guys have used to your advantage. As I know, when we heard TikTok come out originally, it's like, oh man, all you see is these little kids twerking and doing all this crazy stuff. And it's like, I have a daughter and I don't want her on TikTok shaking her butt and knowing that there's pedophilia agenda and all that being pushed. Like, why does the parents think that like that's a trend to try to make them Instagram famous or YouTube famous and TikTok and all of that? So I appreciate the content you're putting out, because our kids can actually listen to it as well. And I can listen to it in the car without feeling bad.
Well, our kids are pretty awake, so they would know what you're speaking about too, which is cool, because then they can, for them, I love that you're putting out information, because I know that there are a lot of people that are always just headline readers. And so they read the headline and they have no idea what the article actually says, or they don't really know what's really happening. And to be able to have really bite-sized chunks goes back to what Bridget was saying, with the idea of people are starting to think. People are starting to read a headline and go, well, that seems kind of weird. Or why would a conservative newspaper or article read like this? Okay, well, let's go actually read the article and see what they're saying. And that is, but people only want it in bite size. So the idea that there really is a 3-minute song, a TikTok video, whatever it is, a YouTube video that they can watch, and it's like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing, or I didn't know that's what it was, or my friend told me this and I didn't know this was an option. And I know personally for me, I was always of the mindset of we just don't talk about it. And so if your very liberal friends were talking to you about something, you were just quiet. And so you guys speaking about it gives people like myself the ability to have an argument, have a conversation, have dialogue back, which I think we've been missing for a long time, is this idea that, we don't talk about religion. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk about school. And all of us, myself included, were, hey, that person's name's cool. I'll sign them up for the school board. And now that person's ruining our children's education, and we didn't know it. And so that's the sort of stuff that I really like to hear, where Wait, no, now I have an argument for you. Now I have something that I can look deeper. And I am so grateful for you guys really speaking out about this, because again, it is allowing people to start thinking again.
Yeah. Speaking of headlines, can we go? I'm going to get into some headlines as far as like, can we talk about how you guys have still managed to battle through the censorship and through society slapping labels on all of you and going to the headline of conservative rappers fight back as viral anthem The Patriot gets canceled? Can we just kind of start there as far as with your music and the timing of the Capitol and all of that situation to now you guys are still rising above all the adversity and afflictions you guys have faced and still at the top of the billboards?
Well, first of all, it comes down to like our support. We have a huge support system, fan base now, and we grew that fan base and that support specifically because we showed our character from the jump, and we've never changed. And it goes back to our military training of having that integrity and having that no quit mentality. I remember it was just me and Topher, who was actually in DC during January 6th. We were there, but we were far away from the Capitol. We were at performing at an event. And so we performed The Patriot live for so many different people of all ages. I think it was like 20 years old all the way up to 80. Like there was like a Vietnam vet in the crowd, but he was still waving his hand in the air like he just didn't care. I was just like, wow, this is crazy. You know what I mean? It's just like back in the day, you would think that like nobody's going to even rock with the rap music, but it wasn't the fact that it was a specific genre. It was the fact that it was a specific message, and he was vibing with the message. This older white dude from Vietnam was vibing with the message, and we're up on there on the stage when back in his day that wasn't even a thing. Like they were segregated and stuff. So it was just crazy to actually see like that MLK dream like achieved on the stage in DC. But the news was telling you something different. But where me and Topher was at, it was nothing but unity with all people. I'm talking about men, women, everybody. And it was cold out there too. And they were out there just enjoying themselves and having a great time. So we performed. After we got done performing, we ended up hearing that the Capitol was getting overrun. And when we heard that, like the White House lady's like, yo, we have to go. She's like, what? The White House getting overrun? You have to vacate the city. There's getting closed down. Like, what? Yeah, you guys have to go to Virginia. So we went to Virginia to one of my buddies. Yeah, to one of my buddies' house. And Topher checked online for our song, and our song was pulled. Patriot was pulled off the line. And then I think we just had like a team meeting and team huddle after that. Like me, Topher, and then the producers like, yo, what are we gonna do? It's like, we're gonna do this? Like, yeah, we're gonna do this. And that's all we had to say. It wasn't much that we had to say. It was just like, yo, we're down for whatever we have to do to fight all this censorship. And we just didn't back down. We said, okay, wait a minute. I went to music business school, by the way. So I went to music business school. So I look up to people like Diddy and Master P and Dr. Dre and all the like moguls, right? So I was just like, how would they do it back in the day? It's like they would sell CDs out of their trunk. Let's do it virtually, right? So me and Topher got together and we like virtually opened up our CD trunk and started selling CDs. And then people were buying the actual CDs because we didn't have the streaming anymore. And we're able to get #1 on Billboard with no streaming, which is like unheard of.
Yeah.
It was huge because people just respected the fact that we didn't give up. And, you know, a group like us, Space Force, we don't give up. We don't make excuses. Like, even if we do a song and it doesn't hit that week, we'll go, okay, bet. Okay, where do we need to maneuver or pivot? Or what is it that they like? Or what is it that they didn't like? And then literally we'll take those lessons learned and put it in the next song or the next drop or the next project, or even giving back to people. We give back to people all the time, like charity and stuff. We don't like to talk about it because it's kind of like, why would you talk about it if you're giving? But, you know, I know Topher and DQ and myself, we do things like that offline because we don't want to say anything, but people just respect us because we're real people that just happen to rap. That's what it is. That's all it is. We're veterans, we're people, we're conservatives, we're Christians that just happen to rap and are the voice for that people. So that's how we're able to make those things happen, because it's nothing that we have to make up. We always just are ourselves and we're authentic. And we go live, we talk to the people, we reach out to people at shows, we talk to them at the shows. We don't act, you know, we're not like, you know, the mainstream media, like, mainstream media or mainstream artists where, I don't have time to talk to you if you you drove hundreds of miles to come to my show. No, we stop, we do meet and greets and all that type of stuff. So the answer is basically is because we take the time and we realize that none of this wouldn't be possible without God and without the people and without the community and everybody who put us in this position. So we just love the people and the people love us back.
Yeah, I love that, especially because I see that you guys are all taking time out of your day, no matter how busy you are, you make it a point to engage with your fan base, and you're all always on either each other's, or you're usually doing a live and random people are popping on and you're really checking on them like, hey, how are you doing? And like having conversations. And I think that's an important message when it comes to especially mental health right now, and knowing that you're not alone and you can be a voice for the voiceless. So you guys have shown others as well to have courage. And if they don't have the courage right now or can't come forward and speak out, you guys, they know that someone's there with them. So I love the fact that you guys rally around the community, as many artists, especially even with the blue check marks. You guys are working with all artists, and you don't put yourself on pedestals and say, oh, I'm too good to connect with this person or that person. Where you see most celebrities and mainstream media, they don't connect with one another. So you guys do a great job at that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then let's see if we can go into the inspiration behind Space Force and kind of how you guys use that to all come together and make, even though you have your own separate entities and you guys join one another, you still have collaborations together as one unit as well.
And Topher could start it out because Topher and DQ kind of like started first.
Okay.
Yeah. So, long story short, I was part of this Cipher Circuit rap group on Instagram, which every week they would drop a instrumental, and they would just invite MCs to just spit a verse, spit a 16, and then if it was really good, they would repost it, type thing, right? And I did that just because I believe in iron sharpening iron, and practice, and practice makes perfect. So that's why I was always just, once again, what you hear now is not what was Topher was 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. But I so I was doing that for a minute. They had a website, and then I saw DQ was featured on the website. So I checked out some of his stuff, and I loved the way he sounded, I loved the way he rapped. And I was like, yo, I don't have any budget to really reach out to some of these bigger artists, and I don't really know how to get in contact with them, but this seems like a feasible feat here. So I'm gonna try this out. And I reached out to him. And he was very cordial. He was like, yes, sir, I will hop on the track, just send it to me. So I sent him the track. It was called Pay Homage, and we're just paying homage to the real MCs back in the day that started everything. Because I think this was during a time where Lamar Ball, I forget his name, I think his son, his son said something about, we don't care about the old heads of hip hop or how it started or the history. He said something like that. And I was like, well, yo, don't disrespect the history, you know what I'm saying? Because it's important. So that's why I was like, pay homage. And I think I even mentioned him in the song. And so that's why we made the song. Fast forward to Timmer having a competition. He was trying to put together sign artists for his military. No, it was a Ninja Punch music label. He was trying to sign artists, and I submitted a video to that, and it wowed him at the time. And then, once again, I had like maybe 1,000, 2,000 followers on Instagram, not nowhere near what I have today. Yeah. And I was a nobody. And I remember I flew to California to do a performance with with a friend I knew. And while I was there, I just kind of posted on my Instagram. It wasn't like a direct message to him at all. It was like, hey, I'm out in LA. I posted a picture, Hollywood Walk of Fame, just chilling. First of all, I want to say it's not like what I thought it looked like in the movies. Just to throw that out there. Don't have the misconception there was huge. But I went there and posted a picture, and the next thing you know, I get a DM from Timmer, and he's like, yo, bro, you in Cali? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, why you hit me up? It's like, once again, he's 70,000 followers strong, right? It's like, what do you want with me? I'm nobody. And he was like, man, I gotta meet you before I leave. And then like he found me, took a taxi, Got over there, or Uber, whatever. Got over there, met me, and we had a nice long conversation. I'll be real, I was intimidated. He's a Marine, right? He's a Marine. That's what you expect. I felt like I had to be at attention. So I was just like, yeah, I did this. Yes, Sarge. But it was fun. I just look back and was like, man, why was I so tense? Because we're real cool bros now. But it just showed that once again, what you see from us and from him is it's not about your status, it's about your integrity, about your character, about what you're trying to do. And so after that, we did a couple songs together. The first song was Don't Go Yet, which was on D Cure's album, Need a Light. And then I think the second, well, all the songs we did together was on D Cure's project. So I will let him just continue from there.
Okay.
Yeah, so we ended up doing a song called Alienated, about kind of feeling like outcasts, and how our sound is really different than the usual industry sound. So we made that song called Alienated, and then we got to talking about starting a group. And at this time, it was like right before they were talking about starting the Space Force like branch of the military. And I forgot who mentioned, I think it was Topher, maybe. Was it Topher? That mentioned, was it you?
It was
Tamar. Tamar mentioned, just kind of like as a joke, like let's be Space Force. That'll be our group name. And we're like, but then it worked out super well because we're all vets, and we just made the new branch of the military a rap group. And our motto was kind of like going where no rappers have gone before, and it kind of goes with our message and what we do. So it fit really well. We all really just trust each other and understand each other, and it just works so perfectly that we're like, why are we not doing this more? And you can see, kind of as we come together, people get really excited, and they want to hear more stuff from Space Force. And so we just embraced it, and it worked really well, and it still works well, and here we are.
I love it.
That's awesome, because I like the idea, especially like you're talking about, like, oh my gosh, I only have 1,000 followers. I think I have like 300. So and I can't even be added anymore because I've pissed off the gods of social media. So, but to say, just keep giving your message, because eventually, and to your point earlier, God will put you where you're supposed to be. And so we started our group, our Standby Survivors group, at the beginning of this year. It's not huge, but our Telegram channel just passed like 1,100 people. So we're like, all right, here we go. We're excited for every additional person that comes on. So we're small potatoes, but the idea of just keep going, because people will find your message and people will continue to push your message. If you are, like you said earlier, if you have integrity, if you are true to yourself, and people know that what they see here or what they're going to get is exactly who they're going to get when you meet them. And I've always lived that way. I know that Bridget and our friend Emma have lived that way, that here's who we are. You can like us, you can hate us, but this is still who we're going to be at the end of the day. And so to continue giving our message.
Yeah, that's the attitude you got to have. Like, just be authentic. And I always tell people, I get the question all the time, like, I'm an upcoming artist. What should I do if I want to have success? Girl, it's like, man, just be you. That's the best thing you can be. So there's a reason why you have your own unique string or strand of DNA. You're nobody's like you. So embrace that, and use that. And just, like I said, just be real, because people recognize phony and they recognize fakes. Eventually, it's going to get to a point where it's so big, you can't keep up that act, and then it's all going to fall apart. And plus, you don't want to create false relationships. So I'm gonna be real with you. Like, I don't want to pretend like because if it's false, then people switch up on you a lot. They'll backstab you and all that stuff. But if it's real, authentic, people really rock with you, I mean, you don't have to really worry about that. And that's how you build loyalty. So, yeah, just rock it that way, and you're going to be good.
Thanks for answering my next question. That was legit my next question for all of you.
Oh, wait, go ahead and ask the question so we can make sure we get it.
No, it was for upcoming artists and indie artists, because most think that you have to sell your souls. So just going off of what you said, basically being authentic and staying true to who you are.
Oh, no, that's a quarter of it.
Hard work is the rest of it.
There's a lot of hard work and learning that goes into it. And Timur can tell you from like the overall standpoint, but from mine, I can speak more on the just people side, understanding the market, understanding the trend, understanding what's upcoming. Like I'm probably one of the few artists out here even that has their own crypto coin or that's even diving into NFTs and get into that, so thinking ahead, thinking how people are going to start shifting is very important. And especially with social media, I post when I started out on TikTok, and which I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. I'll probably ban anyway if I did. But I was posting 5 to 7 posts every day. Like not every week, every day on TikTok for about a year before and in order for me to grow the following that I have. And I remember I was telling DQ the same thing because he was like, man, I need to grow my Instagram. I need to do this. I was like, bro, you need to post every day, all day. And then eventually he was doing the dad jokes and he was doing it daily and it grew. And I was like, it's one of those things where everything is not going to be viral, but the more strikes you or the more chance or the swings you take, the more likely you are to have the viral content. And, so that's kind of where we are. And we try to put out as much music as possible to where we, everything's balanced. And keeping that balance. But yeah, so if you're gonna do anything, make yourself visible and try to stick to a brand and brand yourself on something that you that represents you. Like I'm pretty sure someone can offer me something to deal with something I just don't agree with and I won't take it. They go like, hey bro, I want you to represent this, new vape that we got. It's like I don't vape. So I'm not going to support something. I got nothing against it. Like you can vape if you want to, but it's just not who I am. I wouldn't even know how to smoke it right. I don't know if there's a technique or not, but they're going to be able to tell real fast that Topher has no idea what vaping is or how to smoke. So stick with what you know. So a lot of people hit us up. Like I know about the military, so I can do something with that. I know about the South. I know a lot about politics because I dove into it a lot because I voted for Trump back in 2016. So I was already studying stuff for about the last 5-6 years, understanding how to break down propaganda. So I understand all that. So those are the things I'm good at, and I try to stay in my lane. I might try to get over, but then again, I get ran over by DQ because he's the fast one. So I just stay over here.
Well, and we do that as well, where it's like you get that ego sense of like, I just want someone to recognize me. So I want to reach out to everything. And we have to oftentimes sit back and be like, is this the direction God wants us to go? And they'll connect, the connection will stay or the connection will fall away. And it really is that path. So I love that idea. Like, just because you want to get famous doesn't mean you fall into something or take something that isn't really who you are.
Well, too, and God's timing and the patience of all of it. Like today we were talking even before we jumped on this podcast, like we had you guys on our podcast list like a year ago. Like we have a huge list of everyone that like the music
love to be on.
Yeah, who we would love to be on our podcast. And just that was a year ago that I wrote it all in my journal. And as we were creating that list, so just knowing too, patience and like organically it'll all come together in divine timing. But even just going off of what you guys were just saying is, do all of you guys for social media, do you guys do everything by hand? Because I know that as you get bigger, some people are like, oh, well, I use like a program that schedules it all, or they have like assistants or managers.
Your children. No, I was kidding.
Yeah, because you have your husbands. Some of you or I don't know if all of you are married, but there's husband.
I'm the odd man out.
There's father. I know there's fatherhood, husband, and so just a combo of everything. So, do you guys do all of that by hand, or do you guys kind of?
The answer is yes. I mean, I know what you're talking about. We can use Hootsuite or another type of program to actually automate a lot of these things. It just, you have to, there's no one size fits all for anybody. You may have a company where you can plan things out because this holiday is going to come up, this event's going to come up, Black Friday is going to come up next week, things like that. But for us, a lot of times we do a lot of stuff organically because our audience knows that we're going to engage constantly with them. And because of that, we like to be able to do instant type of things. So like after we get off here, oh my gosh, we had an outstanding podcast. And they're like, wow, it just happened. Yeah, look out for it. You know what I mean? And it's just more exciting that way for us. But that doesn't mean that we don't have like a plan, because we always definitely have a plan. We plan it out and say, hey, okay, this Friday we're going to drop this song. But we just leave little breadcrumbs up to grandmother's house, so to speak, and just to keep it exciting, because a lot of times, a lot of people get caught up in all the stuff of the world, like all the stress, the drama, the politics. And the reason why people like us too is because we keep it fun though. Like even in our video shots where we did the cartoon,
Yeah.
you saw that one. We were like, yo, how can we say the most blunt could be offensive stuff to people and people won't get mad? Oh, put it on a cartoon because a cartoon said it, they won't. You know what I mean? A cartoon said it. We didn't say it. A cartoon said it. We didn't say it. No, but yeah, we do stuff like that. We just switch it up. We have fun. Our Let's Go Brandon is themed after Talladega Nights with Ricky Bobby and all of that, the fun like comedy and stuff like that. So we mix up a little satire in there and stuff too. So a lot of times to do those things, it has to be an instant or a newsworthy type of post. So you can't always just plan it or put it on a Hootsuite or something like that. So sometimes we may do that. But I think it's funner that way, and it allows us to engage with our audience at a better rate.
I completely agree. We do everything by hand. Everyone's like, you guys are always posting here, here, and here. And I'm like, I know sometimes you'll see a post and delete because I can't do it on one page, but I can do it on the other or forget and switching back. And I'm like, oh shit. Yep. But two, I think we would have to say the same thing, especially because even like Hootsuite, it shows that it's coming from there. And for us, we're not like, we don't like all of the robotic, like there's no connection to it, and the way the world has lost that human connection. So for us, we try to constantly show what we do in our day-to-day lives and connect, whether it's us connecting in the community or supporting small businesses, and then even the human trafficking and how we fit it and tie it into who we are in our everyday lives. So we would have to agree the same.
Yeah, because I gotta have my auto incorrects as well. We gotta have those. Yeah. Because you don't get those with Hootsuite. You only get those when you're posting manually.
They didn't say ducking.
Yeah, right. They, it's just weird. It's just weird things. Like, wow, man, how did you auto correct to the wrong thing here? And I didn't even press the Y button. Why is there a Y in here?
Wow, but yeah, so that. It went right over my head. You said ducking.
Yeah. I get that one all the time. Nope, that's not what I said, for surely not. You think by now it would know the right word.
Yeah, I think they do it on purpose. But like I said, you don't get that if you don't.
It's true.
If you don't post it yourself. And I feel like, what can an independent artist offer outside of just music that most major artists don't offer? And that's one of those things where you can actually interact and then kind of have a relationship type thing. And I enjoy it, unfortunately it forces me to be on my phone more than I would like and paying attention. But I think the trade-off is cool, and there is times where I just won't post nothing. I would set my phone down and say, Topher has had enough for today or the next 2 days or whatever. And it is what it is. But whenever Topher's there, you get 100% of him. So there's that.
Well, too, and just remembering to like be present, but then also knowing that message could, and you being attentive to that one person, and if they're dealing with mental health or have suicidal thoughts or something like that, that one message really could have changed their whole day and their life. So some people just need that. Sadly, social media has changed the world to, they lack patience nowadays and they want everything now. But at the same time, there's a lot of mental health going on. But as people start to awaken, like we've always said, like we continually say, is like the more we talk about it and as it's coming to light, more people are going to rely on us to kind of be that support system. And we were kind of prepared in advance, and God's timing of, you can only take in so much information, and you have to be ready and at a certain point of your life and your journey and your path. Everyone has their own, but again, like, just remembering to be present, but then also just even lending that ear to listen and look out for somebody is huge.
Deeker, did you have something to add to
Yeah.
that? I saw you unmute.
Yeah, I was just saying that it's tough to connect. Also on Instagram, just yesterday, I tried to respond to someone and I got a message saying, this person has repeatedly posted content that goes against our guidelines. It's like, it makes it pretty tough to connect, but we do our best. And you were talking about mental health. We actually made a song called He Is With Me, all three of us. It was on my last album, Enemy. And someone had reached out to us saying that we, saved them from a really dark time where they're, where we potentially saved their life. And so that stuff is huge for sure to us as well, trying to make sure we're connected and being there for people that need us. Because I think our message, shows that we've gone through these struggles and people can connect and reach out to us. And so we're always grateful, for those kind of messages.
Yeah. How do you guys handle backlash that you face, not only from, so whether it's society,
Never happens though, right?
society, friends, family, especially just even with the division agenda and you guys showing united as a united front, or even having the label slapped Black conservatives, or the president retweeting your video, and then you get all of that, like, oh, now you're a Trump supporter. So just even that, because I know society often pushes that. So how do you guys deal with the backlash of it all?
Well, I'll answer first. Well, usually I go.
I was just about to
like
say, we give
yeah,
them all the smoke.
Yeah.
That's
So,
what I was gonna say.
So yeah, it's literally like they like created a monster. Like, you know what I mean? Because I'll give you a little story. So I went to music school for music production as well as music business out in Los Angeles. And I've had this American flag jacket for like years. It's going on like almost like 6 years right now.
Nice.
And I was walking around LA. So imagine a Black dude walking around LA with an American flag jacket. And I just love this jacket. And I'm just like, yo, I love this jacket because I love this country. This was right after I got back from Iraq and Afghanistan. I saw how they were living overseas. They didn't have places to go to bathroom. They didn't have clean water. The women, they couldn't do a lot of things that the men could do, whether it's learning or even walking at the same pace as them, like little things. They were covered up in big sheets and things like that. They had slits for eyes. You get what I'm saying? That was the type of environment that was happening over there. Every day was bombs. Every day was shootings and things like that. So that type of stuff was happening overseas. So when I got back to America, I was kissing the ground. I was like, I love this place. I love America. I will never take anything for granted ever again. Even our homeless people are richer than the homeless people overseas. So I'm just like, I love America. So I want to show my pride in America and wear this American flag jacket. It had nothing to do because before it had nothing to do with politics, because before I came back from deployment, I voted for Obama twice. Like I voted for Obama twice. But then when I came back and I was facing all this ridicule and all this backlash, as you were saying, Bridge, like I was just like, wait a minute, why is there such a problem? Why are you guys so mad? Like, why are you so angry? Why can't I believe what I want to believe? Or why can't I just wear American flag? And why can't I wear an American flag jacket in LA? Because in LA, there's all types of demographics, straight, gay, Black, white, all that type of stuff. And I was like, I never judged anybody else. Why are you guys judging me? And then so I started getting into politics and looking into it. And I was just like, okay, y'all just created a monster because now I'm a war vet that's educated and I had to learn twice as much about politics just to be equal to my white counterparts. Like, so somebody will try to debate me and I'm like, I have to be like, blah, 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 blah. And I have to break it down from the beginning. I even had an African lady come up to me. She said, hey, why are you wearing that American flag jacket? Because in the recent years, the flag has been looked at as a symbol of racism for some weird reason. I don't know why that is, right? And she's like, why are you wearing that flag jacket? And I said, I looked at her and I smiled. I said, because we made it. And she's like, whoa, I never thought of it like that. I was like, yeah. I was like, well, if you look back into history, who had the weaving skills, sewing skills, as well as the harvesting, and who actually grabbed the materials to put it together. I mean, Betsy Ross got credit for it, but like, who did it though? Like, come on, for real. You know what I mean?
She may have done the last stitch.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? She might have been like there, and then you know what I mean?
Like my kid in a puzzle.
Yeah,
like I did the puzzle I made. No, you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was like situations like that, and I'm like, a lot of that history has been buried down, and I'm just like, Black history is American history. So this flag jacket represents all of the hard work that all people have put in, especially my culture has put in. So I'm going to wear this flag jacket, and so I got more into politics, and it's the more and more people said you're a Trump supporter. I was like, why? What's so wrong? And I started to like look it up, and then Trump, like how you're saying, Trump actually tweeted my rap. I did a rap diss against Biden, and it got like 8 million views and stuff like that. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, we're on to something now. And I was just like, okay, the more they keep pushing at me with all this backlash and stuff, the more I'm going to stand my ground and stick to what I know and just be me and be real. And that's the advice that I would give to other people out there who are feeling insecure, because I feel like a lot of people are scared. I've actually been approached by a lot of people in my direct messages saying, hey, I can't say something because I'm either in the military or like, honestly, I don't have the courage. I've had like men say this. I do not have the courage. I don't know how you do it. Like, I have a job to keep. Oh, I can't be political, but I just let you know, we do listen to Space Force because you guys give us encouragement, and you give me strength and inspiration. And hopefully one day I'll be able to stand up like how you're doing. And I'm just like, wow, we're not any different than you. I mean, we bleed just like you. We're human just like you. But they look at us as leaders, and just the fact that grown men and grown women, as well as their kids, look up to us. I feel like now we have this responsibility to not back down when we receive backlash. So we always stand our ground when we receive backlash, and we double down. And so I hope that answers your question.
And I saw something once, and I don't even know the song, but it was a political song that came in as like a meme, and the mom said that we moved to the top of the charts or wherever it was, and the mom's like, would you know what that means? And the girl says, we're not alone. And that's what people really need to remember, that if a song like yours makes it to the top of the charts, that also means that there are a hell of a lot of people out there also listening to that song. So as much as they want to cancel you or shame you or whatever, you literally can look across and like, okay, you're not alone. I know you think like you're alone because we don't talk out like the other side talks out, but just start watching the things happening out there. Are you seeing more American flags hanging? Are you seeing more of these sorts of songs coming out? Are you seeing this stuff? That means you're not alone, because if it becomes popular enough, everyone will start to see it.
And I bet Topher could chime in on that because it's not easy. Imagine we're independent artists and we're actually charting with big artists. We just, us and our camp and our friends beat out Adele, so
I know every time I hear her song, I'm like, nope, can't listen to that because that's not going to go on.
I mean, Topher can tell you about that. I mean, he's done it a lot. So like on the Billboard charts, we made Billboard charts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was on the radio the other day, and I was like, they said that Adele was #1, and I changed it, and my daughter said something like, oh, this is #1. I was like, that's what the radio tells you, but really it's this one. And she's like, and then of course she sings Let's Go Brandon too, so she's like, that's really #1. I was like, yeah, look, this is what they don't want you to know.
Yeah, it's just about understanding the industry, and that's what I had to learn when I got serious back in 2017 when I left the military. Is because one thing, as independents, we don't have a mad budget. Our budget was like this. It was whatever extra I had from working my little 9-to-5 job, I had to support. So I had to figure out how to save money, which caused me to learn to do a lot of different things, like edit my own videos, understand graphic design, do my own social media, yada yada yada, be my own manager. So those type of things, but also what to spend my money on, right? What's going to bring me the most ROI. So that's why I learned when it comes to the charts and radio, there's no point in me getting on the radio because they're not going to play it. Everything you hear on the radio is paid for. No one is spinning something because it's popular, because it blew up or anything. They're literally only spinning it because that's what they've been paid to do. And when I understood that, I was like, from a person, like, I don't care about that, right? If I'm doing it for the numbers, sure, I pay for it to get up there, but I'm doing it because, I'm not doing it because it's not the true. They're not being real. And the reason why the DJ is going to spin is because they need to feed their families, right? It's like, I'm not going to fight this, whatever. I play this crappy song, even though I know it sucks, because that's what pays the bills. And now I'm not knocking them, but I understand the industry and I know how to circumvent it. And that's why they're mad about iTunes and the fact that we still can make Billboard is because they can't control that. Like, we're outselling them on an individual level. To me, that's more important because that shows where people actually want to spend their money. That means they're taking the actual hard-earned dollars and purchasing your music. Back in the day, this was the biggest indicator to who was the biggest artist who had the most influence, was who was selling the most records. And it wasn't streaming anything going on back then. And most of the radio play back then was based on, how many sales and what you was doing, but they don't do that anymore. It's all based on what you pay them, and streams are influenced by major labels. They throw money their way too. They got these big playlists they have that they only allow certain people to get on, which for the most part, we're not going to be on it. And I'm cool with that. And I think a lot of times people gotta understand, what does success mean? Does success mean you're at the table with these people? I don't think so. Because you might have to give up something to be there, and I'm not willing to give that up. I think success to me is what we see. Like, I'm able to make music when I want to. I'm able to talk about what I want to talk about. I'm able to do it with the people I want to do it with, no questions asked. Like, that's success. Anything other than that, I just don't think is viable or anything that I'm interested in. And so, yeah, being counsel taught us a lot, that we can DIY all day, every day, that we got a fan base that's strong. And like I said, with our charting success, because this is the first one's the Patriot. Then we had I Left My Home, which we had with MJ Hanks and the Marine rapper. And then we had Let's Go Brandon, with D-Cure and Timmer. So that's 3 different singles this year that I've had to go, top 10 Billboard, and with the Patriot being #1. So it's like, independent artists, no one's helping out. We get no placements in any music magazines, nothing, like nothing at all. No local radio station really is talking about me at all or playing my music. And for us to have that impact, that influence, despite all that, shows us just how powerful our message are and just how powerful people are, or the grassroots movement. So
that scares the shit out of the elites.
Fact. It's fun to watch, though.
we've actually had I've actually had industry people ask me, like, how do you do this? I've had my teachers in my music school, like, wait, how are you doing this? You're not signed, you don't have a label, but yet you are charting. And then I've seen my teachers, because they're musicians too, I've seen them actually copy the blueprint that we laid down, and now they're charting with their artists because they figured it out. But I'm just like, it's crazy that I went to school and they taught me everything that I know, and I just paid attention and applied it. And I just feel like if you really want it bad enough, you'll get it. And when you get to a point when you was it Karate Kid or whatever, when you surpass the master.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I have my money back now?
Yeah, I was like, can I get all my money? I mean, that's Uncle Sam's money. I did it on the GI Bill.
Yeah,
I was smart. I was smart with that
Right.
one. Yeah, well, if they can give me 40K too, that'd be cool too.
Right.
But yeah,
you're teaching the teacher.
Teaching the teacher, and if you can do that, it's a wonderful thing. So we work with who we want to work with. We release music when we want to release it, as frequently as we want to release it. We say what we want. We're never censored. We get to be ourselves. We can hop on a interview or a podcast with y'all, and we don't have to be like, oh, excuse me, Mr. Label, sir, can I talk to these ladies? We don't have to do that. You know what I mean? We'd be like, hey, is our afternoon free? Yup, exactly. Okay, Becky and Bridget, let's get it. So, I mean, it's just a wonderful thing, and that's why we appreciate it so much. And I mean, I'm pretty sure D-Cure could chime in as well.
Yeah, I was just going to add that I think it just goes to show how powerful the people still are. That, we're able to do all this with just great people, with a great following, and excuse me, with great supporters. And it really just goes to show that, this thing that they made, although it seems powerful, it's really not. And we're kind of giving them a run for their money for sure.
Yeah, I
And
love that because you guys have control over literally every aspect of everything you're doing, from your content to the marketing aspect, as far as like the clothing you're putting out, and just even your podcast, and you have the freedom to say whatever you want. And it goes back to what you guys stand for, and even embracing the Constitution and teaching. You guys have taught so many people about what the Constitution is and what it really means just through your music.
Yeah, and it goes back to the idea of like we're talking about hard work. You can very easily go down a path that's quick to become famous. You can buy your Instagram followers, you can do all those things, or you can do it right by working hard. And that, I think that you guys absolutely have proven that repeatedly just in our time here today.
I'm glad that we were able to do that. I just want to say that I had a humbling moment. So I was like, man, you know, I've risen to success. Now I want to get me a rapper chain. I don't know if y'all know what I mean. It's not so much a rapper chain, but I do want to give me a nice chain, because I've always had one chain and a watch. It's kind of like ever since I was, you know, could afford one, you know, my $100 chain. Not knocking it, but that's all I could afford back then. You
That's
know
what
what
you
I'm
got.
saying?
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yep.
And I had got this chain, and I was like, okay, I want to see if I can get the other ones that I see some of them wearing. And I walked in and said, yeah, how much this cost? They said, oh, it's about 40 grand right there. I said, oh, I got some ways to go before I can drop
You can
40
just give
racks.
that, you just give that to Marine Rapper for his education.
I was like, that's when I was like, there's levels to this. I'm not at that level yet.
You're not there.
That tells me that I got room to grow, which is cool. But it's just one of those things, like, it's crazy that I'm even having this conversation, because 10 years ago, I wouldn't even have walked up and asked how much that cost. But now I'm able to walk up and be like, oh, how much that cost? And I was like, ooh, I'll be back, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I can't do it today, but I'll be back in 2 years. Here, buy my single off of Apple.
Here, yeah. And then I go make another post. Hey, everybody, right now, we're going to get to the top of the charts. We're going to be Adele. Buy my new single for $1 so I can get this 40K chain. But yeah, so
I
that's
just started GoFundMe. Let's be honest.
no GoFundMe. I don't do that. Ever since they've been tripping. But
yeah, no kidding.
which is still crazy. And this is why I tell people we got to get our own infrastructure as conservatives, because they can shut down anything we're doing anytime. And unfortunately, when it comes to any type of war, culture war, physical, actual war, communication is key. And if we're unable to communicate, it's going to be a lot of chaos. There's going to be a lot of loss here and there. And we don't want that to happen. So we got to find a way to create our own lane, you know, create our own currency or something that we can create some value that's not controlled by people with opposing, opinions, that's going to sabotage whatever we're trying to do. So, if that's starting our own podcast, eventually we could try to probably start our own label, start our own music review website, just something, just everything our own, to take back some of that ownership, because unfortunately it's what we got to do. And like you say, we've seen the censorship from TikTok, we've seen the censorship from Instagram, all social media, all the way to YouTube. I mean, I think Burden got banned for 30 days for saying, I want to be like Cal or something. He didn't put Rittenhouse, but just because he said that ban, it's like, how is that even a bannable offense? I have no idea. The guy's not even guilty, obviously.
Not even a little
gun
bit.
charge. It's weird that this is a thing, right? We just wouldn't be having this conversation 5 years ago. But yet you can get on social media and talk about how you want to kill your baby mama and everything else, and that is getting promoted. Like that gets in front of millions, yet ours get censored, and we're just being real. So
yeah,
we just gotta keep this fight up,
I'm at the point for my career, I'll be fired by January, and my husband will be fired by the end of December because we refuse to get the jab. Now, we've been ready, we've been saving, we're good. And I'm using it as a reset, and God is going to tell us where we go. But it's like, are you freaking kidding me? I could walk into my business with tuberculosis and kill everybody in there, but nobody cares. Like no one is aware of that. It's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this world. Get me off this planet. I'm coming with Space Force because we're done.
Let's go.
Yeah, right?
And
Honestly.
going back to your humbling moment, like with the whole jewelry thing, know half those artists, for all the people listening, half of those artists don't pay for that jewelry. They're sacrificing not hard work. They're sacrificing other things as far as like people, and it goes deeper into that. On our podcast, we often talk about that with the human trafficking. So that's, you actually work for it and you're doing it the right way and staying true to who you are. So even with your humbling moment, know that you're still successful, because half those people are doing some corrupt shit that you can't even fathom. And then just going to off of community in general, and what people often see on mainstream media, especially when it comes to the military. If we can share just some insight, or just kind of based on your guys' experience, because I know that you guys all come from different backgrounds, just if you, whatever you guys are comfortable with, if you guys want to touch on just a little bit of your military experiences. Whether it was like the war in Iraq, or I don't know who wants to start.
Is there a certain like specific you want to hear
I know
about?
for you, I know one thing for you that caught my eye. I was like, oh, what the heck? He was a 911. I saw a story with you and the 911 dispatcher. And then I know for Marine, it would be like Iraq and Afghanistan. So I know that I've seen different stories in different articles that we've read. And I'm just like, people listening, they often just see what mainstream posts, but they don't see like what, even from the military aspect of like what you guys experience, especially like the mental health part of it. And it's not like you have the therapy behind it. It's just like, okay, there's shots, there's bombs, killing, like you guys survived it all. You go to war, come home, and like you're away from your family, friends, and it's just like you depart, you come back, and then back and forth. So you don't really have that. I don't know how to say that. It's just like there's so many experiences.
I'll pick up on it.
Okay.
I usually I do a lot of military veteran suicide prevention on a daily basis. So I go live at 10 a.m. PST daily, give or take, depending on what's going on, if we're traveling or something. But usually it's at 10 a.m. PST, and I'll talk to anybody. It doesn't matter. You could be a civilian or a military person, but I started it for military people to give them a source of camaraderie and just somebody to talk to that understands where they're coming from. Because I've been told by a lot of military that they would go to the Veterans Affairs Hospital, they would go talk to a shrink or go talk to somebody over there, and they felt like their voice wasn't being heard, even though they were talking to a professional, because they were doing things like looking at their watch for their next appointment or their lunch or something like that. And then when they spilled their heart about, hey, I had to deal with this in Iraq, or this in Afghanistan, or this overseas, or my wife this, or I don't know how my my kids, I don't know how to relate now. They're like 7 months older now because I came back from deployment. So things like that would pop up, but those medical professionals, quote unquote, would not understand them. And so what I did was I used music to create a source of camaraderie. So I did the song called the World War Cipher, and in there I held up a sign saying that push-ups aren't going to stop their death, because there was a time where everybody was doing push-ups, 22 push-ups, just to represent the 22 suicides that were happening. And I was just like, well, the suicides are actually increasing, especially with all this COVID stuff, and nobody's doing anything. So in that rap video, I held up a sign saying push-ups aren't going to stop their death. That didn't do anything immediately, but when I posted it as a screen grab, as a picture, and I posted it to Instagram, everybody got mad. Like, why can't I do push-ups for my brothers and this and that? And I'm like, because you're not calling that person. I was like, you can hate me all you want, but if you're not calling him or her, it doesn't matter, because the VA doesn't care about you. No civilian is caring about you as much as a military person would care about you. So you need to call your brother and sister, because we are the first line of defense. People were getting mad at me. I swear, like I was losing fans and followers online, but I didn't care, because the fact of the matter is, that's the fact, that it doesn't matter how much physical fitness you do, because my brother's a personal trainer and he told me it's even worse in the fitness industry. A lot of them have body dysmorphia. They don't think they're big enough. You know, they work out, they don't think they're big enough, so they get depressed and they kill themselves too. So physical fitness has nothing to do with it. And when I got to the root of it, after I dropped that song and posted that picture, the root of it is they were missing connection and camaraderie. They want to talk to somebody. They just want to be heard. They want to be like, hey, I'm having a hard time with my wife or whatever. I don't know how to talk to her. Oh, okay. Well, maybe have you tried this? And then they go and do it and they're like, oh, wow, that works. But they're not going to like to hear it from like a VA person who acts like they're not going to care. They want to hear it from a military person. So what I did is I said, I'm not just going to post a social media post. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go live every single day for 22 minutes as symbolic for that 22 suicides that were happening. And I'm going to talk to anybody. And so what I started doing since last year, October 22nd, is talking to anybody and saying, hey, how you doing? And we don't get on and say, hey, are you going to kill yourself? We don't say that. We just go, hey man, what's happening? They're like, oh yeah, I had a good day. Or sometimes I'll talk about candy. I'll just talk about candy. I was like, hey, you got that new candy or whatever? Or would you eat last night? Or how you feeling? Or there may be a woman on there that has dealt with military sexual trauma. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not the right person for you, but I have another female friend that could help you. And sometimes I might just do a connection. I might not talk to them. Sometimes I might do a connection. So I do a lot of advocacy on social media for military suicide prevention to help a lot of these military people. We use music as well. Like DK was saying, the song "He Is With Me" has helped a lot of people. A lot of other songs that we have done have helped a lot of people because we deal with a lot of issues, and sometimes only we can help other people who are dealing with the same thing because we've been through it. And also, to just tell you a quick story, like I was overseas in Iraq, right? And we were on a mounted patrol. We're in a Humvee, like Hummer. They're called Hummers here, but the armored ones are called Humvees. So I'm inside of it, and this was my first deployment, and I'm a combat correspondent, which means I'm the camera guy for all of the infantry. Even though I'm with the infantry, I'm the camera guy. I'm still at the lowest part of the totem pole, and I was very low ranking. So I was inside the Humvee, and we had like a football field back to the base, and they're like, all right, it's time for us to do mine sweep. So you could either stay in the Humvee. They're asking me, do you want to stay in the Humvee or do you want to get out? And I'm just like, shoot, I want to stay in this Humvee. Of course, like I'm staying in the Humvee. Like there's armor, yes.
I was gonna say that seems way safer.
They're like, psych, you're a boot. Boot means like you're, lowest of low. You're a boot. Get out. You're gonna mine sweep. So I literally was point man, which means point man means you're the first person walking over the grass looking for mines. And at the time, like I didn't care as much because we were facing death all the time, so it wasn't really like a big deal. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta go and walk to the base when all I wanted was like a cold water, because we had a cold water inside and a couple of muffins or whatever. And so I'm walking and I'm halfway there. This kid starts to run up towards me. This little kid, like 7, 8 years old, like a small little Iraqi kid. Yeah. And this kid starts to run up to me. And if you know anything about like the climate at that time, unfortunately, they would attach bombs and things to kids and women. And it sounds really messed up, but they would do things like that. And so as a military troop, you have to make a decision what you're going to do with that situation, neutralize a threat wherever it's coming from, or like trust your instinct, right? And another thing too is, say you have the wrong instinct and that woman or that kid comes into your patrol and they kill your battle buddy or whoever, it's on you, right? So that's another thing you have to think about. So I'm patrolling, right, with all my gear, and I have more gear than everybody because I have my camera gear on me and stuff like that. And I have ice cold, not ice cold water, but I have water bottles in my my cargo pants. And I'm walking towards the base, like I said, and this kid's coming up to me, and I didn't know what he wanted. And then I decided not to do anything. So I didn't do anything to that kid. The kid comes up to me, and then I look down, and he looks up at me, and his lips were parched and cracked and bleeding and stuff. And he says, water. And I'm like, bruh. Like, I was just like, yo. I was at that moment, and I felt it was weird. It was a humbling situation, and I felt selfish at the same time, and I felt sad at the same time because, like, my little brother didn't have to worry about clean water, right? My little brother didn't have to beg a stranger for water.
Yeah.
He could just go to the faucet with his cup and pour some water, like if he wanted water, some tap water or whatever. But this little kid was asking me for water because unfortunately they were throwing bodies in the Euphrates and those kids were getting sick, so they couldn't drink out of the Euphrates River. So they knew Americans had clean water, so they would run up to us. So I gave him my water bottle, but it was just a moment in time that I started to realize that I should appreciate things more. Whether it's, you know, my pride in America and wear this flag jacket, or water, or even being on a podcast to be able to talk on an equal level to other women, because over there I can't even do that. I can't even look at them, you know what I mean? Or somebody's mad at me, you know what I mean? So like these things and these freedoms that we take for granted, they want so badly overseas. And I feel like if we realize that we have so many freedoms and so many great things in America, people would have a different perspective. That's why I feel like it's so important for everybody to go and be traveled and see another country. Obviously not here. We can't do that. Maybe go on a podcast with somebody or something. Maybe we could, you know, show our phone around or whatever. But it's just so important for us to be more traveled and appreciate things, and not only appreciate other people and other things, but appreciate ourselves. And that's what I strive to do on a daily basis with my mental health advocacy, my military suicide prevention advocacy, is to show people that they should appreciate the small things in life and have more value in themselves. And when you have more value in yourself, you're not going to want to kill yourself, because you're going to love yourself a lot more. And then if you love yourself, you're going to be able to love others, and then it's just going to spread like wildfire. So that is the type of work that we have been doing online, just to combat all of that mental illness and the effects of war on a daily basis.
If I was going to say, if I could add one thing. So when we are deployed or we're going through these like shocking situations, we never went through them alone. And it's kind of the same when you relate it to someone going through a shocking personal situation, like someone that is suicidal. You're also not alone. You just think you are. There are tons of people, you know, that are going through that thing. But there's always, you know, you get trapped in this mindset, but in the reality of things, you know, there are people there with you. There's likely another service member that's feeling the same way you are. And so I kind of relate it to that. You know, we were all together when we were deployed. You know, we saw these crazy things, shocking things, and we knew that we were together. But then when we come home, you kind of forget that people are there, you know, because you were focused on the mission. And when people come home, they kind of forget that they have brothers and sisters that look out for them. And so I think it's just important for people to reach out to those people, because there's likely someone that understands, and you know, we're people that understand. So that's why we were always like, okay, we reach out to us. If there's no one else, please reach out to us. And so I think that's a good way to kind of relate it, you know, that people come home and they forget, but truly there are people there with you that are feeling the same way.
And I think the civilians of this country have forgotten, to be honest. I think to go back to what you said, like, we live in a country where our pronouns are the most important thing we're dinking around with, instead of, wow, did you eat today? Do you have a job? Do you have water? Do you have clothes? Do you have a place to sleep? Like, we are so, and that's not everybody, but oftentimes you go and you talk to the farmers, and the last thing that they're thinking about right now is what their pronouns are, because they're busy with their land. And so we've gotten to this place in our country where we don't appreciate even what our country is and what it stands for. So we can't appreciate the men and women who are out there helping keep it that way. And like you were saying, to travel the world, travel our country. Like, we went this summer with my husband and my boys. We just drove the Western states. And so we went to Yellowstone, and we went through Utah, and we did all into Mount Rushmore and did all. It is the most beautiful country that you will ever see. And all we did was drive through it. And so people are like, oh, well, I can't go anywhere. Get in your car and drive. It's an amazing country to see. And we need to really start appreciating all of it, because in a hot second, we're going to lose it all if we don't start figuring it out.
Facts. And just remembering really quick.
No, go ahead.
Just remembering to even appreciate the military, like, and even your airlines, like the pilots and even all the staff. Like, people are like, oh, well, I got the jab so I could fly. But yet the pilots and everyone around there aren't getting it, and they're mad that they're taking a stand. But yet people are like, oh, I'm all for your body, your choice. But then once that pilot makes that decision, it's like, oh, F this, it's F this. And it's like, no, like, just from my point of view, and what we often talk about is take a step back, put yourself in somebody else's shoes, just realize what the military sacrificed. All those times they were away from their family, fighting for us, making sure, protecting the country, making sure everybody else was safe. They put their life on the line, and they survived. You guys all survived it. But even just remembering to appreciate that, and even going back to the airlines, is like all the holidays and those overnight shifts and sleepless nights, and just you guys, you barely getting shut eye, and you're sleeping in between bombs going off or not sleeping. So just remembering to put yourself in someone else's shoes and being mindful of, it's not just about you. And America has gotten so greedy and materialistic that COVID should have, and the whole pandemic really exposed America, and really should have taken people back to the root of being grateful for what we have, as far as the water, the clothing, and knowing you have a roof over your head. Where people and children right now are at the border getting raped, and the borders are open, and there's unaccompanied minors coming in, like us being so close to the border. And we just did a podcast with Jorge Ventura, and him being on the border, filming it and bringing the truth to the American people, and him getting a gun pulled out on him from a human smuggler. So just remembering that, even him putting his life on the line to show, like, no, this is reality, and there's children out there getting raped or starving. And so just being humble and taking a step back and being present and being thankful for being alive, that you woke up today, and that you have your children, you have your family, your friends. So just taking a step back and looking at it from that perspective as well. So again, thank you guys for your service and everything that you've done as well.
And I would just like to add before we wrap it up, is I blame the media for how they portray military. The only time they ever show military is if we're attacking something, if we're at war. Like, it's so much more to the military than wartime, right? Even during peacetime, there's a lot of different roles we have, whether, because we still have EMTs in the military, we still have people that's volunteer. Like, military has the most volunteers any demographic. So we out here still doing other stuff in uniform, outside of uniform, that doesn't get displayed in most movies. So people have just false perception that the military is just a war machine, and that's all we care about, and that's all we do. And that's why we talk about the things we talk about, and we try to show the human side of all veterans, or everyone that has ever served, because it's, once again, it's much more to us than just what is being portrayed.
No, thank you for bringing that up. I think a friend of mine who was in the Army had read a statistic that said for every civilian, there are 6 veterans standing in front of them. And I was like, well, that makes me feel a hell of a lot better. I'm not going to lie. And and I know even in my neighborhood, we have a bunch of folks that would be the first to step up if anything came in through that door. And so it's very nice, and it's very comforting to know that I'm on the right side of history. You guys are standing in front of me, because that is awesome. So one final question that I have, who has kids? Do a couple of you have children? Okay. So how do you, because I know with what we do, and not that we have any of the fame, right, but it's dark stuff of that. So you have to kind of bring some of that stuff up, and they've got to start learning it. How do you either talk to your kids, or even just keep them out of the fire, or out of the line of sight, or any of the nonsense that comes in? Because we know you guys get it a lot. So how do you do that? Because we need help.
Well, I'm just very blunt. I'm very honest. That's how I was raised by my mom. And so I just put it all out there. I say, even with my daughter who just turned to be a teenager, like, even her, I don't Yeah, I know. Luckily I could shoot though. But like I even tell her, I say, hey, I know you see a lot of content that your dad does because she's on Instagram too, and I know what
Right.
she's doing and stuff. I was like, however, if you feel contrary to that, I'll march with you. If you want to march with me, you can march with me. You can whatever you want to do, but I don't want to. I want you to, always feel like you can come to me and you don't feel like you can't come to me. But this is what's going on. I do my research, this and that, and I just and I've actually had the conversation with her. I'm like, hey, do you feel like you can't talk to me? Am I intimidating or anything like that? And she was like, yeah. And then so we had the conversation, and I was like, you can always come to me, and you can always talk to me. And so it took a lot of putting my ego to the side because I was raised really old school, like you don't speak until you're spoken to type of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But a
Yep.
lot of times these days, like kids, I don't want her to grow up in a way of being scared or timid to speak up. So I allow her to say certain things if it's respectful.
Yep.
If it's respectful. So I taught her how she, say, I was like, hey, say what you want to say. And I said, hey, how you feeling? She's like, if she's feeling angry, oh, I'm actually feeling upset, or that, when you told me to do that, that made me mad because A, B, and C. I was like, oh, I didn't see it that way. You're absolutely right. I understand what you're saying. Daddy just wanted you to clean up or whatever. I understand that you have homework and stuff, but here, let me help you with this. Then we'll move that. And, and I come up with solutions for her. So she's able to understand that I'm in the fight with her. So to kind of like answer your question, I show her that I'm in the fight with her, and it's not like a solo sport for her. And it's crazy because me and her mom like co-parent, and I had her for the summer, and then I was like, man, she's never gonna want to come back for another summer again. You know what I mean? And her mom was like, yo, she said, when can she come back? Indefinitely. I said, what? Because honestly, people like structure. People actually like, and I didn't know that, but I was kind of like blinded because I was like, I gotta be a good father. But at the same time, I was just like, wow, like I didn't realize that she would actually want that structure from me, because I always felt like I was kind of like on the harder side of things. Like
You're very military.
Yeah, very military. You know what I mean? I'm like, you don't sleep in. Like it's 8:00, get up, fold your blanket, brush your teeth, get some cereal, tell me your plan. You know what I mean? Like she's still a kid in a kid way, but I say, hey, there has to be some type of, you're not just gonna lay around and have the blanket on you and not be up and it's like 12 in the afternoon. That we don't do that here. We get up, we get, you know what I mean? We get up, dad me is totally different than entertainer to me. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, we got to fold some blankets here. This is how you fold the bed. If I can't bounce a quarter off of it, wrong, let's try again. I'm like Major Payne. You see Major Payne? But yeah, like I just try to, I feel like it goes both ways. When you're being a parent, I feel like it goes both ways. There's obviously, like my mom taught me, like I'm a parent and you're the kid and we're not friends, but but we can still have a dialogue to where you feel like, we can understand each other, because I don't want you thinking that you have to go somewhere else to go get that type of conversation or that type of connection. And that's when kids go and do A, B, and C. But if you go, oh, well, I can tell my daddy anything, whatever, and he's not going to judge me. Like, and also even though she's female, I'm teaching her to stand up for herself. Let me tell you a little anecdote. So I was inside and she's like, hey, can I go out to play? And around the corner was the playground. So it wasn't that far. And I'm not going to like hold her hand. I want her to be independent.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, go around the corner, go play. She came back in. I said, why'd you come back in? It's only 20 minutes. She's like, oh, well, this kid was throwing rocks. And so the kid was throwing rocks. And she's like, yeah. And I said, and she's like, and so my daughter is like, she's like hidden figures genius like that, like rocket science genius. Like she draws anime, like she has her own tablet, she draws anime and everything. She comes up with her own processes to draw faster and all types of stuff. It's crazy. So she draws manga and anime as well. So I got her the, the tablet that does all that. Anyways, so she's a super genius. So she's like, I don't understand. If we're on the playground, why are they throwing rocks? She's like, aren't we supposed to just swing? But you get what I'm saying? Like, that's how smart people think. They think very straightforward. They're like, I thought, why aren't you behaving? Yeah.
Yes.
So she's like, he's throwing rocks. I said, oh, bet. I said, I said, me and you were going back outside. And when I said, who threw the rocks? She's like, he did. I said, okay. And I saw the dad over there across the way. And I was like mean mugging him from across the way. And I told her, I said, hey, you go tell that kid not to throw rocks at you. And then She's like, huh? I said, you go tell that kid, it was a boy. I said, you go tell that kid not to throw rocks at you. And then she went back. She said, don't throw rocks at me. I said, good. And then the dad was looking at me. I was like, yo, what's up? Like, I was like, don't let us, like, don't bring it to our level. Your son was wrong. Don't bring it to our, don't bring it to our.
Because
I was like,
I'll end it.
Yeah.
We don't need to go there.
Yeah, because I don't want to go to that other level. But like, I was just like, yo. And then, so like, he didn't say anything because he knew his son was wrong. So she came back, whatever, and we went back inside. But those are the little lessons that I teach her. So like, when she's by herself, she can learn how to stand up for herself in any type of situation, whether it be socioeconomical, political, whatever. And it's because my mom always raised me that even when you're in relationships, you shouldn't have to need that individual. You should want that person around. So my mom even taught me not only how to, be a man, but also to be like, hey, this is how you iron your clothes. This is how you make basic meals, baked chicken and all that stuff. So you don't need a woman for anything.
Yep.
You can want them for something. Same thing I teach my daughter. I'm just like, I don't want you walking around like, yes, you're female, but I don't want you walking around timid and scared of the world. So I want you to speak up. I want you to have that loud voice. I want you to be strong as well. So I teach her these things. So that's how I help her navigate this current world.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, because most parents don't do that nowadays, especially father figures. Lucky for me, actually, I would say it's a blessing, but then sometimes I'm like, oh, this is frustrating. It could be a curse because I have to play both roles. So it's like, it's frustrating trying to be like that middle in between, because sometimes she's like, I'm not answering, I'm just explaining to you. I'm like, there's a point of being respectful and then now trying to be disrespectful and you're overstepping. So I will say that sometimes is like, no, you're the kid and you still have to be respectful. Like, don't try me with that one. So yeah.
Children.
Because they'll try to find like a little loophole or try to get a little inch and pull and pull and pull. And a lot of times, like I actually go back to it might sound crazy to some people, or they might not understand it right off the bat. I actually go back to my military training, but the bag I dig into is not the aggressive side, it's the patient side, because we're in formations and we had to wait for a very long time. So I can be super patient. So now, instead of like flying off the handle, because my sister said, when you got back from Afghanistan, you were an asshole, right? And I was just like, and I said, I love my sister for that, because I realized that I was a certain person that I had to be over in Afghanistan, but I took it back to the civilian world, and that didn't work. Like that was working when I was dealing with enemies and stuff like that, but like I can't do that back here. So it taught me a lot in how to have more patience, especially with my daughter. So now, like how you said, it's hard doing both the roles, but I'll listen to her. She'll be like, my daughter will say something like that. She'll be like, oh, I'm just explaining, a little attitude. I'm just explaining to her. I was like, okay, tell me about it. I said, tell me about it. And I would say probably like 50% of the time, it's just, she's right with what she's saying. It's just, there's a flavor of attitude on top. And I'm just like, okay,
where the hands get going.
Yeah, like what's that? What's all that about? And then I'm like, okay, well, first of all, Daddy understands exactly what you're saying. We're gonna fix that or whatever, but fix that attitude.
Yeah, but don't tone it down, my friend.
Oh, that's funny. She'll throw two back in my face. She'll be like, but you taught me to speak up for myself, because I let her go to protests and stuff. And the whole she threw the whole be a voice for the voiceless, because we say that on our podcast all the time. She threw that back at me, and I'm like, she's like, but you say in your podcast every time.
You're not a voice. You're not voiceless. Shut your mouth.
So yeah, she'll try me sometimes, but yeah, I agree.
Would you say so? You said you better behave so you're not voiceless,
or
you will become,
or you'll become voiceless.
That's a time where you be like, you actually, I am your voice, because by the Constitution, as my child, you don't get to vote because I'm your parent and I represent your voice. So
I'm gonna that one. Thank you.
So yeah, that's the time to educate her on the Constitution and be like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, my son asked why he needs to learn history, and I was like, well, so we don't repeat it. That he's learning the Constitution right now. We're gonna maybe have to talk about that.
Yeah. There you go. It's like, yeah, here you go. I mean, hey, you want to fight it? Go ahead.
Here's the consequence.
If we could share as far as where to find you guys on social media, and then also the importance of purchasing on iTunes versus streams.
You can find Space Force, or just individual.
Both.
Space Force plus individual.
So Space Force Radio on all platforms. So at Space Force Radio. Twitter is Space Force Radio. Instead of an I, it's the number 1. Yeah, so you can find us on all social media. For mine, it's Topher Town Music, TOPHERTOWNMUSIC. And you can find me on any platform there. As far as iTunes versus stream, simply mathematics, right? So if you spend $1 on iTunes, we get 70 cents back. If you stream a song, in order for us to have the same equal value, you have to stream that song 150 times. Let's just say it's probably not going to get done within the first day, 2, 3, 4, maybe not even a week. So unless you plan on just living consistently with us in your head rent free, I advise most people to just pay the $1. If it's a lot for you, I understand, continue to stream. But the best way, and for any artist, major or indie, is for you to purchase a song outright. And even more if you purchase it directly from our website.
Who wants to share their Instagram or social media?
Okay, so for DCure, my Instagram is at Andrew Raps. For Twitter, it's Who Is DCure, and for TikTok, it's Bearded Rapper. But I think you can search everything just D.Cure, and you should be able to find me on any platform.
And you can find the Marine Rapper everywhere at the Marine Rapper on all platforms.
And then if you guys purchase their new song, Shots, make sure to take a screenshot of it, right? And then tag you guys on social media, and then you can get your own cartoon as well. So if you can, just tag them and then send them what you want your cartoon to look like, and then they'll send it back to you. And then now you have a character to join the team.
Oh, you watch really closely to our social media.
I do.
Wow.
She said she's been wanting you on. We've been wanting you on for a year. So she's
Wow,
ready.
that's kind of like
I haven't picked my character yet, though. I've purchased it, but I haven't picked my character yet. Or
But you
like that part.
y'all enjoy the video, the cartoon?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's very creative, especially with censorship world. It gets you around a lot as well.
You would think.
It
Yeah.
helps.
Singles have all the way.
Today, I couldn't even post our own podcast from last week because I did like a hashtag border crisis. And yeah, we are shared too much on the border. And the documentary with the cartel and all of that. So we shared too much. So I can't currently post on my stuff right now, but whatever.
And I call it a Medal of Honor. That's what that is right there.
Well, you just have to come up with a euphemism like "Let's go, Brandon."
Exactly.
I know we were using hashtag Save Our Children, but that's currently blocked and banned on all social media. It's hidden. So yeah, we have to.
And the truth hurts.
But we will make sure to link all of their social media handles and latest videos as well in our podcast and show notes. If you guys need any, or if you guys feel that you are alone, feel free to reach out to any of us. Know that you're not alone, and we hear you. And we also will continue to share the truth, and just remember to stand in your truth and not be fearful. So again, thank you guys for joining us. We truly appreciate it to have all three of you on at one time. So thanks again.
Blessing.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
As always, survivors, we see you, we hear you, we stand by you. This is a war against good and evil, a fight against religion, and a battle for our children. We're in a toxic, abusive relationship with the United States government. We must stand our ground. It's never too late. It's never too late to do what's right. We must fight. Together, we will rise for the children and humanity. Thank you to all of those who have served across the nation, as this is a global crisis. Please know you're not alone. Sending prayers to military, the survivors, the patriots, and the truth tellers. We see you. We hear you. We stand by you. Sending you love, light, and blessings. Stay strong. We will change this. We will be the generation to end human trafficking.